Okay. Well, good morning, everybody. I have some wonderful news for you today. Did you know that the same power and presence that put the galaxies into their spin and inspires the bud to blossom is the same power and force that works through each and every one of us? Everyone. You, and me too. Now I got them both. But the thing is with that force within us that gives us the power to transform hatred into love and compassion, or in judgment into compassion. So with that, we will sing our theme song. I am free, I am unlimited, there are no chains that bind me. I am free, I am unlimited, right now, right now. I am free, I am unlimited, there are no chains that bind me. I am free, I am unlimited, right now, right now. And I got a text from Doris. Pearl is home from she had knee surgery and then she had to go off for rehabilitation. So she is home now, but they weren't going to make it in today. But they say hello. And loving energies would be very appreciated. Okay.
Okay, our daily word for today is welcome. I greet this day by praying, "Good morning, God." Every day is a miracle of life unfolding. I begin my day and welcome a fresh opportunity to co-create with the divine by saying, "Good morning, God." Through this simple prayer, I establish my relationship with infinite creativity and establish an expectancy of good. As I meet and interact with others throughout the day, I share my enthusiasm for the sacred experience of life with a welcoming smile, an encouraging word, or a helping hand. If challenges arise, I remember I am not alone. I welcome the guidance and wisdom of God working through me. When I complete a project or am successful in meeting a goal, I praise the gifts and power of the divine revealed through me. From Psalm 65:8, "You make the gateways of the morning and the evening shout for joy." Our affirmation again, I greet this day by praying, "Good morning, God."
I greet this day by praying, "Good morning, God."
And our announcements. Friday, August 30th, from 7 to 9 p.m., we are having a vision board workshop for adults. This will be Friday night at Deanna's house, and it's not just for adults. If the kids want to come too, that's fine.
Yes, they can.
All are welcome. $15 for supplies at Deanna's home, and I'm sure we'll have more announcements as we get closer on
Yes.
what we need to do for that.
Yes.
Coming up in a few weeks, the next birthday potluck will be Sunday, September 8th, always the second Sunday of the month.
Yes.
We will celebrate September birthdays and have a yummy potluck. September 22nd, another Sunday, is the autumn equinox and housewarming at Deanna's after the service.
Yes.
We'll have a potluck, so bring a dish to share. And as we get closer, she will give us directions.
Yes. Yes.
Book club is in session now, but please join us. Don't think you had to be at the beginning. Thursdays, 7 p.m. at Deanna's. We're reading The Only Thing That Matters by Neil Donald Walsh. And we ask for a $5 love donation. Good book.
It is a really fun book. I love reading it. I love discussing it. I think we're all enjoying it, right?
Yeah.
That's good. I'm going to start off today with a song, and I wrote this song a couple years ago. But the song I wrote, I was inspired because I was thinking about how we were created to have an amazing experience, to just enjoy all of this, and that we're always an expression of God, even when we forget about it. But we're having this whole life right now, all because of that expression. And I just started thinking about the other night because I watched this movie, Men in Black 3. Have you guys seen it? It is my favorite Men in Black movie. But toward the end of the movie, they meet this alien, and he lives in all realities at one time. And so he can watch a baseball game whenever he feels like it, really. He could just watch this baseball game. But he'll say, well, if somebody drops this candy wrapper, then this is what'll happen, and it won't be the game that I wanted to see, or it will be, or whatever, right? So it's real interesting how there's these little intricate things. And one of the realities, he says, yeah, this game was won because this one guy who picked up a ball and threw it, his parents didn't have one more drink on the night he was conceived. And if they had had that one more drink, he would have been Clara, or something like that. And so I just thought that's so interesting to think about the ways that pieces are falling into place up to this point that we don't even know about. We didn't even think about that, that somewhere somebody, smiled at someone and it changed the course of how many lives because of that one smile. And so anyway, it was a good movie. I really liked it. So the song is called Beautiful. Smile at the rocks and trees and to be. The life is wonderful and life is magical and life is beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Then there was a plan and the life began, and the colors that came and the songs that we sang were the key, the key. So the dream we dreamed and the lives that we believed were the lessons we've learned to make us who we want to be, who we want to be. For we are wonderful and we are magical and we are beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And what I see in my heart tells me we'll never part. We're all part of this great big family. We're family. And now you smile at me and we've learned to be free. We send our love out across eternity for the world to see. For life is wonderful and life is magical and life is beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And you are wonderful and you are magical and you are beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Life is beautiful. Sometimes we just don't notice it because we have some crazy stuff going on. So my talk today is called Big Fat Lies. Big fat lies. Where do those big fat lies come from, right? somewhere in there where they don't belong. And the most important relationship that, bless you, that we will ever have in our entire life is that relationship with ourself. The relationship with ourself and what it is that works through us. Because we are an extension of God. So we're made of that. We're expressing it. We want to be able to recognize it and have awareness of it. So we are either expressing the truth of ourselves, that we are an extension of God, an expression of God, or we're not expressing that truth. Now, when we are expressing it, we are tapped into our inner wisdom. And so we're able to let ourselves be open and allow the soul to flood us with knowledge. Okay, the feeling of things just being right, feeling like we're in the right place at the right time. Okay, now when we're not expressing the truth of who we are, then we're not connecting with our soul. We're connecting with something that I call the inner critic. It can be called the ego. It can be called the little me, which whatever you want to hear it. It's that little inner voice. It's like a little bonus we get when we come into these human bodies. And I was thinking about how when you buy a new car, they'll give you a little extra add-ons sometimes, right? And I thought, well, that's like with the body. We get the body and we get this little inner critic that comes with us. But it's not always a critic. This little voice actually is totally programmable. Okay, but if it's being a critic, it's because it's been programmed, okay, from a long time ago. We've trained it to be a critic because of the life experiences that we've had that start when we're very young. Maybe when we were a kid, we had a teacher tell us that we weren't terribly bright, or that one of our subjects would never be a good subject for us. I had a teacher tell me that about math, that I would be failing math, I would never be any good at math, right? Then I got an A in a statistics class at Crafton Hills. And my partner in that class that I studied with was an algebra teacher, and he got a B. Okay, so I got the A. He got the B, and he thought he was tutoring me. Okay? Maybe we had a friend who told us we weren't very good at something. Okay, maybe, we don't know why they would have told us that, but maybe they told us something and it hurt our feelings. I can remember being a little kid, and one of my friends telling me I didn't draw very well. And I think she was just mad because I could draw well. So she told me that. Maybe we had somebody in our family tell us that we would never amount to anything unless we did it their way. So we had to get the job that they felt was the best job for us, or live the life and live in the place, or live whatever their dream was. So there's this inner voice that we have that's getting all these messages from the time we're very young. Now, if the majority of these messages are critical in nature, the voice gets programmed with those critical messages if we accept all those messages. And when we're kids, we tend to just accept those things that come to us. Okay? So we basically have this voice then that is trained to tell us these big fat lies about ourselves. And we forget what it is that works through us. Okay, if we're thinking we're not good enough in some way, then we're not remembering the truth of who we are and the truth of what we're made of and where we come from, because that big fat lie is blocking it. So if we ever experience any of these following emotions, we may have a big fat lie at work on our inner self. Fear, hopelessness, insecurity, unworthiness, guilt, regret, anger, blame, boredom, depression, pessimism, frustration, impatience, disappointment, jealousy. Yeah, if we've ever felt any of those, we may have an inner critic working on us, telling us big fat lies about ourselves. There is a company called the National Science Foundation, and they did a study. They found that the average human being averages 60,000 thoughts a day. And the majority of those thoughts are negative. Okay, that's a lot, huh? And that's very bad, because all those negative thoughts will eat away at our self-esteem, our self-love, and our self-worth. And those things have to be intact for us to be able to act on our intuition. Okay, a lot of us will feel the intuition, but we'll have fear that keeps us from acting on it, and that's because our self-esteem is not intact. So those things have to happen for us, or those things have to be working for us. Okay, our intuition is what divinely guides us. Our intuition is what tells us the next step to do when we don't know. Now, we can do affirmations. Affirmations will help to reprogram that inner critic. But if we take 10 minutes in the morning and our affirmation is, I am worthy, I allow myself to follow divine guidance. Okay, so we've got that 10 minutes, but then we spend the rest of the day, which could be 15 hours and 50 minutes. Okay, if you sleep 8 hours. I wrote that down because I knew I wouldn't remember it. But if we spend the rest of the day saying, this never works out for me, people drive me crazy, how am I supposed to get this done? This is hard. Nobody's going to help me do this. Okay? If we're saying that more than those 10 minutes in the morning of I am a divine being, okay, we're programming ourselves then with the negative affirmations. Everything's an affirmation. We affirm all day long. Okay, this sandwich tasted nasty. That's an affirmation. Everything we affirm, okay, it happens all day long. Okay, so what are we programming ourselves? Now, if we're going through the day and we're feeling pretty happy and enthusiastic, then chances are that we're good, that inner voice is in alignment with our higher self. Okay, but if we are going through our day and we are feeling crummy at any point, then we probably have that inner critic talking to us, telling us big fat lies about ourselves. Now in Luke chapter 6 verse 43, Christ says, there is no good tree that bears bad fruit, nor a bad tree that bears good fruit. So the tree is the metaphor for us. Okay, when we're in alignment with our higher purpose, when we're in alignment with spirit, and we're allowing God to work freely through us, that's going to express into our lives. Now, it doesn't mean life is going to be easy, right? We'll still have difficulties and challenges that come up, but we'll never see ourselves as a victim in that. We'll be able to follow our intuition and find the easiest way to move through all those difficult crises that will pop up. Okay, that is how a good tree bears good fruit. Okay, the good thoughts, the feeling of self-esteem and self-worthiness, that will express into our life, in our actions. And things will be easier for us. Okay, even when they're hard, things will be easier for us. Now, the bad tree is the metaphor for us when we're listening to that inner critic tell us that we're no good. Okay, if we're walking around and our self-esteem is not intact and we're telling ourselves, I'm not good enough, I don't deserve, I am unworthy, we're not going to be able to allow spirit to work through us for our highest good. We're blocking ourselves off from our good. Nothing good can ever come from the inner critic. Okay, nothing good. Those big fat lies that we tell ourselves keep us small and contracted. They keep us from giving. They keep us from receiving. We can never reach for the brightest version of ourselves when we're listening to the inner critic. Okay, it never ever does anything good for us, ever. Okay, and that's the voice that makes us feel crummy. Okay, so I'm going to just talk about a couple of the more popular big fat lies. And one of those is, I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. Okay, I'm not enough the way I am. I have to add to myself somehow, do something, be better. Okay, now this is the big fat lie that kept me taking classes in holistic healing for the better part of 10 years. Okay, there's always going to be one more class, and this would be the class that made me feel worthy, that made me acceptable, okay, that would make me an overnight sensation. Okay, this would be the class. All right, and that's what I kept looking for. And then one day, somebody read a quote to me, and it was in the Course in Miracles class. And you've all heard this quote before, I'm pretty positive that you have. It is from Marianne Williamson. She says, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. I love this quote. I think it's one of the most beautiful quotes I've ever read. And at the time in my life, it was the most annoying thing I'd ever heard, because it seemed like from the first moment I heard it, everybody started quoting it all the time around me. I must have heard it 100 times in the first 30 days from that point that I first heard it. And what I realized was that that's what I was afraid of. Your playing small does not serve the world. I was choosing to play small because I didn't want to have to take responsibility for my own success. I wanted to play small so I didn't have to worry about failure. Right? I wanted to play small so I didn't have to change anything about myself. So I could just stay where I was and just keep blaming my surroundings, my situations, my lousy teacher, and all those crappy classes I took for almost 10 years, right, that never made me an overnight success, right? I was afraid of having to accept this as the truth and walk the walk. Okay, that's a big thing, to take responsibility, to say, you're right, there is something that works in me. Our playing small does not serve the world. So I had to decide I was going to deal with that. When we believe that we are not good enough, we are saying the universe made a mistake. And I think I've said this before, but that's really kind of arrogant, right? Oh, universe that put the galaxies in their spin and can grow a baby, right? You were really wrong about me. Boy, did you mess this up, right? That's kind of crazy. So we don't know better than the universe. Okay, we're a little microcosm, and we don't have the expanded view that the universe has, so we have to trust the universe created us perfectly just the way we are. So if we have the inner critic that is telling us that we're not good enough, we reprogram it by reminding ourselves we are like what we come from. There's an apple seed that comes from the apple tree, and within that seed is all the programming to grow it into a... Come on, apple tree. Right, don't be afraid. Just shout it out, right? It's not going to grow into a sunflower. It's not going to grow into an iPad, right? It grows into what it's like, what it came from. We came from something. So inside of us is the programming for a light-shining, love-expressing, microcosmic creator. That's what we are. Should I say that one more time? We are all light-shining, love-expressing, microcosmic creators. Okay? I made that up. Because I like just using the word cosmic as much as I can. Cosmic and Star Wars, right? Okay. What about the big fat lie? I should have done things differently. Oh, if I had a nickel, right? We'd all have a bunch of nickels. If only I had gone to college right out of high school. If only I had said this instead of that. If only I had turned right instead of left, right? We could just we could just be full of it right now. We could think of so many things. But the thing is if we knew better, we would have done better. Okay? We did what we did with what we had, and that's just where we were. Now, if we keep getting hung up on our shoulds, right? I should have done this or I should have done that. Okay, we're stuck in our past. And that's like driving your car around only staring in the rearview mirror, right? That's not going to get you very far. And you're going to have a lot of accidents on the way because we're really focused back there. Now, it does not work for us to focus on how we could have done things differently. Does not work for us because we're shutting down how divine inspiration works through us. And it's divine inspiration that inspires us with our brilliant ideas so we can move forward, right? If we're stuck on something that we think we see that we did wrong in our past, we're channeling shame and blame and regret. Okay, and shame and blame and regret are not going to inspire us with brilliant ideas. Okay, only our connection to our soul will inspire us with brilliant ideas. So we just need to be able to forgive ourselves. That is how we reprogram that inner critic. We forgive ourselves. Okay, I know it's like simple but not easy, right? The thing is that when we forgive ourselves, we are expressing a divine act of compassion toward ourselves. And when we can forgive ourselves and have compassion for us, that's when we have compassion for other people. Okay, and so compassion is very powerful for us, and it's something we need to be able to share with ourselves and with others in our life. Okay, so we forgive ourselves, we have compassion, and I found this Don Miguel Ruiz quote. This is really good for reprogramming the inner critic. You know which one, because you're reading the book. We decide we're simply going to do our best, okay, with what we have right now. Okay, we just do our best. Don Miguel says, always do your best. Your best is going to change from moment to moment. It will be different when you are healthy as opposed to sick. Under any circumstance, simply do your best and you will avoid self-judgment, self-abuse, and regret. So we just choose to do our best right now. If it doesn't turn out so good, we forgive ourselves. We have compassion for ourselves, because when we make a decision that wasn't terribly brilliant, but we're still connected to our soul and what works through us, it inspires us on how to get out of the mess that we make. Okay, so we always will have that. We don't have to worry. If we make a bad decision, we have something that works through us that will help us to fix that. Okay, and to move forward in a way that will help us to shine the brightest version of ourselves. Okay, how about this big fat lie? When I am this or that, or when I have this or that, then I'll be happy. Okay? So when I have a ton of money, then I'll be happy. Okay, when I lose a bunch of weight, then I'll be happy. That used to be my big one right there. When I have a lot of money and when I lose some weight, then I'll be happy. And then I started thinking about, like, back in the 80s, when I was trim and my husband and I had all this money to spend. And I was like, whoa, you know, I used to have stuff back then that I would say, oh, well, if I only had this, then I'd be happy, right? Because I was looking outside of myself. Oh. I actually know somebody who is a millionaire, and he's not happy because he thinks he needs a perfect relationship in his life to make him happy. Now, I also know somebody who thinks they need to be a millionaire to be happy, and they're in a good relationship. And so I thought, well, that's kind of funny, huh? And I thought about actually introducing them, but one of them is in a good relationship. And actually, he would not, you know, be interested in the millionaire. So, but he was telling me about that. We all know people who would say something like that, right? We all know somebody who would say, if I had perfect health, then I'd be happy. But we also know people who don't have perfect health, and they're perfectly happy. Okay, because they know that's not what it takes to be happy. We know people who have a lot of money and they're not happy. Okay, they want more money. There is an advisory group called the PNC Advisors, and they did a study among millionaires. And they found that over a third of them were still worried about money, even though they were millionaires. They all said they needed twice as much as what they had. So the millionaires that only had $1 million needed $2 million to feel happy and secure. The millionaires then that already had $2 million, they needed $4 million to feel happy and secure. Now see, I always thought $1 million would make me feel happy and secure, but I guess that would just be the start of a crazy cycle, wouldn't it? Okay. So we retrain our inner critic by having gratitude for what we already have. We already have a lot. Every one of us in this room, we have more to be grateful for than we could list in 10 minutes probably. Thornton Wilder says, we can only be said to be alive in those moments when our hearts are conscious of our treasures. Now, I seriously changed my life with gratitude. I mean, seriously, big time changed it. Because I had a habit of complaining. I was complaining about all these things that were going wrong. And blaming. Because when I'm complaining, I'm actually blaming. Okay, so I started a really, really serious gratitude practice and found out that it was gratitude that moved me forward, that it was complaining that kept me stuck. So now, okay, right now in my life, my inner critic literally has nothing to say to me, okay, when it comes to needing something in my life to be happy. And I'm serious. Like, we've just moved, okay? Moving to Redlands was something we were focused on for a long time. And now, even though, okay, we had to move, moves are always financially stressful. My husband changed jobs, okay, and missed a week without pay. That's financially stressful, okay? And yet I see this all happening, and I see it as just something that's going on, but it's not going to take away my happiness because I live in Redlands, right? I'm living in a great house in a great neighborhood, and my kids are healthy. And all the little things that could make life more comfortable, I know they're going to make their way toward me. They are. Because you know what? I think about, like in my past, things that I really wanted, and I end up with them. Okay? So things will mellow out. We're going to recover from the move because we've moved before and we recovered. Other people have moved before, right? You moved a few years ago. You recovered from that move, right? You did. You recovered from your move, right?
Eventually.
Yeah. Yeah, yours is a much fresher move. I know. But you know what? My inner critic actually cannot say to me, you know, you'd be happy if, because I'm like, I'm just happy. I am just happy. There are things that I may not have in my life, but I'm not suffering because I don't have them. Okay, so seriously, the practice of gratitude is a life-changing practice. Okay, and I just started it simply by writing down 10 things I was grateful for. And if I was in a particularly grumpy mood, I would then say out loud, I would talk out loud for like 20 minutes. I'm grateful for this, I'm grateful for that. And I just kept doing it. Okay? Seriously, it was a life changer. Okay, this is the biggest big fat lie I think probably anybody has to deal with. I am a failure. Something didn't work out for me. I am a failure. Okay, this job didn't work out for me. I failed the class. Something didn't work. I am a failure. Now, when I was going through my training as a holistic health practitioner, I tried a lot of things that didn't work out for me. And at the time, I would lament to my husband, man, this didn't work. Man, why can't I make anything work out? I'm such a failure. Woe to me, right? Now, in the last couple of years, as I have been more involved in ministerial counseling and coaching, I seem to attract people to me who are in the field of holistic healing. And they don't know that I used to be a holistic healer. And so they'll come to me because they need help either moving forward on their business or finding like the one path that's a real good fit for them, and they just want to bounce it off somebody. And then I tell them about what I went through, and so many of them had said, well, wow, but you had it really easy. Like, well, it looks that way when I look back on it, because now I see it as a series of steps that got me to a really good place. Okay, and so I don't see myself as a failure, even though back then I was kind of a baby about it. Okay. When I was in college, I changed majors a lot. Okay, I started off as a psychology major, and then for some crazy reason I decided to get into computer programming, right? That's a big jump, right? But I took a couple of classes, and it didn't work out real great for me. And I was just like, oh. Then I took an algebra class and I did well. So then I decided to become a chemist, which I'm not sure how that happened. I never took any chemistry classes though. I just took algebra, and then I moved on to something else because then math started not working out, you know, for me. And then I was going to be an astronomer, and then an oceanographer, and then I got into religious studies and theology. Okay, some of those classes did not work out very well. But you know what I discovered is they were showing me what's a good fit and what wasn't a good fit. Okay, like in all my training, one of the classes that I took was sports massage. That's a really hard massage to give, and I am so glad I discovered I didn't like to give that kind of massage. Okay, so we don't fail, okay, we just learn another way to do things. None of us would ever look at a little toddler, okay, learning to walk, and when they fall down the first time say, man, you really can't walk. Why did you even bother to try? Okay, none of us do that. And the toddler never thinks they're a failure either. I remember watching my little ones learn to walk, and every time they fell down, they just thought it was funny, and they'd get back up again. They never saw any of that as a failure. Okay, those just show us They show us things that maybe aren't a good fit for us. And if it doesn't work out, maybe it was a good thing. And maybe someday we'll know why. Okay, maybe we don't always know why when it's happening and it feels like a failure. But later on, we will see that it was a step in the right direction for us. Thomas Edison said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that don't work." I love that. So if we have an inner critic that is constantly telling us what a big failure we are, we reprogram it by changing our story. Okay? If we once saw ourselves as a failure, we now see someone who is willing to take a chance and step out of the comfort zone. Okay? People who sit on the couch all the time and never move from their TV, they don't fail, do they? Right? Because they don't take a chance. Okay? We move out of the comfort zone. It is always taking a chance to move into the comfort zone. Or to move out of the comfort zone. It is always taking a chance. It takes courage. It takes courage to be willing to fail. That's courageous, to be willing to let something not work out right. The word courage comes from a Latin word for heart, which means to tell the story of who you are with a whole heart. Courage is being wholehearted. Claiming failure is just not having courage. That's all. Claiming failure is us when we're not being wholehearted. But that's not who we really are. We remember who we are, where we come from, and what we come from. Wholehearted is our natural state. Expansion is our natural state. Moving out of the comfort zone is our natural state. Okay? Fear is a hallucination that we get. Courage is actually the key to reprogramming the voice of any big fat lie that your inner critic may be throwing at you. Okay? I've just mentioned a couple of the more common big fat lies. There are lots and lots and lots of them out there that we could find, right? We could come up with a huge list really if we wanted to spend our time thinking about that. Okay? But see, courage will reprogram the voice of any big fat lie. When we're listening to a big fat lie and we fall into the habit of just accepting it, that is just because it's a habit. We may have years of the habit of accepting something that our inner critic is saying and not arguing with it. That, I learned, is called being in a state of homeostasis. You know that word? Homeostasis. That is life back to usual. Okay, homeostasis. We tend to go back to what is familiar to us. And it may be that we have a big fat lie that's programmed in our head that is so familiar to us that we let it just keep running. Okay? Do you know that the majority of people, if they're tired and they're asked what restaurant they want to go to, they're going to pick the restaurant they go to most of the time. They're not going to pick an exciting new restaurant to visit. They're going to pick the one that they usually just always go to. And I've noticed that about myself. If I'm like not energetic and feeling kind of and it's time for lunch, I'll just pick the most common lunch that I have. I won't think out of the box about it. No. But see, change is about taking action. Okay, reprogramming the inner critic is about taking action. We can reprogram that voice to be supportive. We really can. Okay, sometimes we think we can't, but we can. We can tell that voice to say, "Good job, you can do that." We programmed it to say a lot more, right? So we can. Expressing our truth, expressing the truth of who we really are, is about taking action. Because our soul expressing into this world and our soul expanding and being creative is activity. Okay, it's not passivity. It is taking action. We are brilliant, except when we forget to be brilliant. Okay, we are loving and compassionate, except when we forget to be loving and compassionate. In the book of 1 John 4:16, John says, "He who abides in love abides in God, and God in him." So when we remember where we come from and what we are, we will have a sense of worthiness, and we will feel a sense of love and belonging. Now, because our life, it's not about being perfect. Okay, that's not our goal in life, is to be perfect at anything, right? It's about accepting that we are worthy of love. It's about accepting that we are perfect already, no matter what the package looks like, no matter what our life looks like. We are worthy of love and belonging. That is what makes us wholehearted. That is what makes us courageous. And that is what makes us willing to be a divine channel for a cosmic force that wants to express through us and will always surprise us, delight us, and exceed our expectations. So until next time, remember, you are a divine child of a loving creator. You are a force for good. With every beat of your heart and with every breath you take, you are radiating light and love into the world around you. In everything you do, you are blessed, and so it is. Now we have our prayer box in the back of the room, and what we've been doing is we've just been holding onto the prayer box, sending a little love into it, and then passing it on to the next person. It's a lot of loving energy getting amped into those prayer requests.